Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Realizing what she had done, she quickly withdrew her touch and picked a few books as the man did the same before rising to his feet. "Did you buy these recently?" Ron looked at the books and asked her. "Yup. I brought them from abroad. You can hand them over to me, Mr. Wren. I'm going to put them in the study." "I'll help you," the man uttered in a low tone before walking to the direction of the study. Entering the room, they saw that the lower racks of the bookshelves were packed completely full, so they could only arrange them on top. Setting the books on the table, Ruka took a small ladder out of a dark corner and propped it against the bookshelf before taking 2 books with her up the ladder. "Be careful," he reminded her from behind. "I'll be fine. I do this all the time." She smiled. Since she was an avid reader, she was used to climbing up ladders against bookshelves. Yet, she did not expect that in the harsh winter, a mouse would be hiding inside the warm shelf. Just as she slotted the book in, the little mouse was startled by this movement. Squeak, squeak. The mouse instantly crawled out from the little corner and jumped toward Ruka's face. "Eha!" Frightened, she waved her arms, causing her to fall backward. In the meantime, Wren was already prepared to catch her. The moment she fell, her back collided with the man as he quickly caught her waist. The flustered Ruka was still trembling as she pointed toward the bookshelf. There's a mouse." Slowly letting go of her, he patted her back. "It's okay." The man's low tones somehow calmed the woman down as she turned around involuntarily. Due to the dim moonlight refracted into the room, she could not see his features properly, but she could sense the glimmer in his eyes. "I have to chase it away. What if it ruins the books?" Even though Ruka was petrified earlier, she found her courage back as she was looking around for something. Suddenly, she let out a smile. "I'm going to borrow a cat and chase the mouse away tomorrow." Wren did not know if he was infected by her smile, but he started smiling as well as he stared at her face. The dimples on his face made their appearance, rendering him too adorable to not look at. Ruka just so happened to look at him and was instantly attracted. Although she had seen a lot of people with dimples over the years, he had the most attractive pairs out of them all. Smiling, she tilted her head and teased, "Mr. Wren, when are you going to introduce my aunt to me?" He could not help snorting this. "You sure are a busybody. Of course I'm worried about your marriage. I'm wondering which girl would be so lucky as to get married to the youngest and most handsome vice president of our country." Ruka beamed widely before taking the books and climbing the ladder again. Yet, he stepped ahead and snatched the books away. "Let me do it." "Be careful then." She held the ladder for him as Wren easily put the books up. Moments later, he held onto a book and asked her, "Would you lend me this?" "Of course." She was a bit elated since it was an honor for the vice president to read the book she picked out. It was then her phone rang. Fishing it out from her pocket, she saw that it was from her close friend, Michael Eve. "Hey, Mike," she answered happily. "Why didn't you call after you arrived? Didn't you say that you were going to send me a message?" I forgot about that. I'm sorry. I was too excited to be back. Then, I slept and forgot all about it. Please forgive me, Mikey." Ruka, who was chatting along, did not notice Wren's gaze on her as he seemed to be lost in thought. "It's fine. Since I'm coming back tomorrow, you just have to treat me to a feast." "All right, when you come back, I'll treat you to a feast." Ruka smiled, showing a very gentle face as her eyes glimmered and her pearly white teeth showed. Ron just so happened to catch a glimpse of this and felt a certain wave of emotions for a second there. Noticing a gaze on her, she turned around. With lightning speed, the man diverted his gaze and looked at the book in his hands. Seeing that he was reading, she went out of the room to chat, not wanting to bother him. After around 6 minutes, she came back in to find the man sitting on the couch while still reading the book. In a white shirt paired with black vest and pants, the man flicked through the pages with his slender long fingers while lowering his eyes. At that sight, her heart could not help but skip a beat. So, this is what class, elegance, and dignity look like. These words were perfect to describe her uncle. Since they were not about to have dinner right away, Ruka decided to sit down and read too. At first, she thought that she could read relaxingly like she was in a library, but she soon found out that it was impossible. Sitting beside Run, she could feel a very oppressing aura surrounding the whole study. It's so difficult to read with him staying here. Mr. Run, I'll be going downstairs now. She left knowingly. Watching her exit the room, the man could finally breathe easy as he closed the book shut. In actuality, he was not reading the book either, he was merely acting. Although he could deal with all sorts of people, he found himself unable to get along with a young girl. Who could believe him if he said this? Arriving downstairs, Ruka went straight to the kitchen to help out, causing the servants to be taskless instead. Scarlett, who was cooking, chatted with her goddaughter lovingly. In an outsider's eyes, they seemed just like mother and daughter. A short while after, Run came down to the laughter of Ruka. Subsequently, he switched to the news channel while a servant served a new cup of tea, not daring to stay in the living room in fear of disturbing him. Soon, Ruka started to serve the dishes before she delivered a smile to the man sitting on the couch. Heading back to the kitchen, she asked, "Aunt Scarlett, does Mr. Run have a girlfriend?" This made Scarlett grumble. "No, he hasn't. We are all concerned about his marital affairs, yet he keeps saying that he's too busy to care about that." Ruka laughed upon hearing this. "I don't think he's even thinking about this. We've got no choice as well. With a man as capable as he is, his standards are naturally sky high." Scarlett was feeling helpless, for she and Ren's age difference was too big, creating a generation gap between them. Ruka agreed with Scarlett as no ordinary woman would dare to woo a young man who wielded such power. Besides, Run was too domineering, so who would even dare to strike up a conversation with him? I know first-hand how that felt. The pressure he emitted when they were reading earlier was enough for her to want to escape. Hence, if he did not take the first step, what woman would dare to woo him? At last, Walter had returned when the last dish was served, making it the perfect time to start dinner. "It's time to eat, Mr. Wren." Ruka became the mood setter of the house. Switching the television off, Ron stood up and went to the dining table while Walter approached him with a bottle of good wine. "This is from my treasured collection. Let's have a drink." Yet, Wren only waved. "Perhaps we'll do it next time, Walter. I still have work to do when I get back." In the end, Walter could only enjoy the wine by himself. Not only was he not angered, he did not pressure him further either. After all, he reserved respect for Wren as who he was. "Ruka, try this. This is the barbecue pork ribs you adore so much. Since I haven't cooked for a while, I might have gotten rusty. Let me know if it's good." Picking up one of the ribs, Ruka tasted it while Wren was sitting opposite her. As she took a bite, her eyes glowed upon indulging the scrumptious flavors. "It's still as delicious as I remembered. You really do know the way to my heart, Aunt Scarlett. You sure know how to talk." Scarlett was overjoyed inside before placing food on her little brother's plate. "Eat up. You should eat on time since you're so busy all the time." Wren tried some too. "It really is quite delicious. Isn't your birthday in a few days, Ruka?" "We'll have to prepare a proper banquet," suggested Walter. "Uncle Walter, let's just spend it in a simple fashion. Let's just have a meal as a family." Ruka did not want them to spend too much. "Have you spent your 23rd birthday?" asked Ran. "Yup. I'm going to be 24 this year. Ruka was happy to have grown a year older. Oh, yeah. Are you seeing anyone now, Ruka? Scarlett popped a sudden question. Ruka outright blushed as she bit on her fork. I don't. But, I have someone I like. Her words made Ren look straight at her, his visage turned solemn. Really? How old is he? Where's he from? Scarlett's interest was piqued. From the same town. He's my senior and he'll be returning from abroad tomorrow, Ruka stated everything honestly. How is he, personality and family-wise? Scarlett was like a mother that could only relax after knowing everything about the person. Yup. He's a nice guy and he treats me well. I'm not too sure about his family though. I haven't asked him about that, Ruka replied. Walter, who was happy to hear this, looked like a father that was looking forward to the day his daughter would get married. It was then someone interrupted, Walter, do you have any wine left? Hearing this, Walter quickly stood up and poured a glass for Ren as Scarlett asked surprisingly, didn't you say that you have work later? It's fine. I'll sleep better after this. Ren then downed half the glass in one shot. Slow down, Mr. Ren. Your stomach will be damaged if you drink so quickly. Ruka was concerned for him. Yet, she found herself looking into a very solemn gaze. Frightened, she immediately looked down and continued eating, not daring to stop him from drinking anymore. Placing his glass down, Ren said to the girl opposite him, didn't you want to borrow a cat? I have one at home. Stunned for a few seconds, Ruka was overjoyed at this. Mr. Ren, you actually have a cat. I do. I'll tell my men to send her over tomorrow, he said nonchalantly. That's great. I needed a cat. She then said to Walter, Uncle Walter, I found a rat in the study earlier. I was worried that it might chew on the book, so this is why I wanted a cat to scare it away. Really? Are there mice in the study again? I found one last time too. I think it's because of the impending winter, making the mice seek somewhere warm, stated Walter somewhat frustratingly. This would happen less if we were in an apartment. But, it's hard to avoid since we live in a villa. Scarlett pointed out. Eating just a few mouthfuls, Walter noticed that Ren's cup was already empty. He was about to pour him another glass when Scarlett forbade him. That's enough. You just concentrate on filling your own glass. It's so rare that Ren is drinking with us. Come on, let us have more. Walter was a bit upset. At that moment, Ruka was snickering before she matched gazes again with Ren, whose fierce look made her freeze as she stiffened up like an obedient child. Watching the girl's smile disappear every time she saw her made Ren a bit perplexed. Am I that scary? He actually liked to see her smile, for he thought that it was very comforting to look at. Ren, I still remember that you had an upset stomach because you didn't eat properly last time. Look at you, drinking so fast. Do you have something on your mind? Scarlett looked at her brother curiously since he did not look like he was tasting the wine. He looked more like he was using it to drown his sorrows. In front of his elder sister, Ren did not dare to act up as he replied, It's nothing. I just wanted to drink a glass or two, seeing how joyful Walter is. Don't tell me you've been dumped, Mr. Ren, joked Ruka. Hearing this, Scarlett thought that she made sense and was happy again. Ren, do you have someone you like? Tell me. I can help you. Ren had a glimmer shot across his eyes as he looked at Ruka, who pranked him, before snorting. And why do you say that? I just guessed it. After all, only people who've been dumped would drink like this. You've already emptied 2 glasses. Since Ruka had Scarlett backing her, she became braver and braver. Scarlett, who suddenly thought this all was logical, asked, Spill it, Ren. There's no couple that I can't match. I can help you. Walter spoke up for Ron. Why are you in such a hurry? Can't you see how exceptional your brother is? What kind of girl wouldn't fall in love with him? Ruka was feeling a bit guilty now as she was afraid that the man might blame her for bringing this up, but she was dying to know inside. She wanted to know which woman would dare to reject the vice president. Ron isn't actually that ideal. Not only is he busy every single day, he's also getting older. As expected of his sister, Scarlett was scrutinizing her brother, thinking that his achievements were over-exaggerated. Yet, Rin suddenly asked the girl, "Do you think I'm old, Ruka?" Looking up, she blinked in shock upon hearing that she was called out as she started to observe the man. The word old did not have anything to do with the man. Handsome and noble-like, every line on his face exuded youthfulness to the point where his features looked almost statue-like. When he smiled, his dimples would only add to his charm. This kind of man would only be more charming as he aged. Just like fine wine, the longer it aged, the better it would taste. Ruka replied honestly, "You're not old. I think that you're very handsome." Run smiled at this, revealing his dimples. "But, Mr. Rin, I still suggest that you find a significant other soon," Ruka added. This made his smile freeze in place before he glared at her. Does she think that I've nothing to do in my life? Why is she still mentioning this? Covering her mouth, Ruka started to laugh, making her upturned eyes look like crescents, which was very bright and alluring. The man, who felt himself gulp at this, quickly looked down and drank from his cup. After dinner, he left with the promise of bringing his cat that he raised himself for Ruka tomorrow. Meanwhile, in a luxurious apartment in the city center, Angela was just done with work before she went downstairs from the study. Sitting on the couch was a man reading a book while wearing just a bathrobe. With a relaxed mood, he was resting there, emanating a wild look to him. This was peace and quiet unlike anything Richard had ever felt before. Like a leopard under the sun, he looked very lazy and relaxed. Angela, who felt her shoulders somewhat sore, went up to his open arms as the man placed the book down and hugged her before kissing her on the forehead. "Are you tired?" "A bit. My shoulders are quite sore because I've been writing too many emails," she grumbled. He immediately massaged her while she rested on top of his body, admiring her man's looks. "His hair sure has grown. When I first met him, he had a buzz cut. Now that it's long, he would totally look like a handsome CEO if he styled it a bit." "I'll take you to a barber tomorrow," Angela suggested. "Is my hair that long?" Richard reached out and touched his forehead. "Yup, it's pretty long." Still, with his looks, any hairstyle would not affect how handsome he was. Even if he were to go bald, he would be the most handsome bald man. "I want to design a style for you." She smiled. "I don't need that. I just want a shorter cut." "No can do. We're together now, so you have to please me. Since you're on break for these 2 months, you belong to me during this time." Angela curled her lips slyly. Richard's gaze darkened as he caught her sentence. "All right. Then, please me tonight. I'll let you do whatever to my hair tomorrow." Speechless, she thought that she was on the losing side. "Richard, just let me rest for one day," she begged. "I'm the one doing all the work anyway." The man smiled evilly. Even if he did care for her, he could not concede on this matter. It was not as if Angela was tired of this, nor did she want a break. She was just afraid of overindulgence, for this was not recommended. Yet, every time, the man would make her forget about this. "Really? Deal. No going back on letting me choose your hairstyle tomorrow." She then hugged him by the neck. "Carry me to the room. I need to conserve my energy." This made Richard snicker. "Am I that terrifying?" Come to think of it, it kind of makes sense since she always falls asleep exhausted lately. Back then, Angela fell asleep thinking of him. Now, she fell asleep beside him every night. Yet, the thought that he would be dispatched for missions after his break for months made her afraid that she might miss him again. So, she decided to spend the night together first. The next day in the afternoon, Angela brought her man to a high-end salon and saw that most of the customers and workers were young females, who were dumbfounded to see such a handsome man. With a tall and striking body, Richard was emanating a very strong aura that they have not seen on a man in a long time. My God, he's just a walking pheromone dispenser. Angela requested for a senior hairstylist while Richard sat at the side, watching her and the barber discussing his hairstyle. Suddenly, an inspiration came to him before he nodded. I understand. I will make sure that you are satisfied, Miss Myers. Walking to Richard's side, Angela bent down and said, just sit tight and don't suggest any weird ideas. This was the deal she exchanged by using her body, so she needed to use it to the fullest. Closing his eyes, he obeyed her. Angela went to the waiting room, but she did not know that her man was being ogled by the female workers there. Not only that, even the customers were looking at the most handsome man in the shop through the reflection of the mirrors. Some who were in the service industry kept thinking about how best to approach him. With closed eyes, Richard let the stylist cut his hair however he wished since he could not resist it anyway. It's actually quite calm to close my eyes like this. Even when he was merely shutting his eyes, it was still enough to charm the people there. He's so handsome. A woman's voice of praise came. Not only is he handsome, looking at him, I think he's at least 6 feet tall. Besides that, he has such a wide back. He's totally my type. After cutting and snipping for quite some time, the stylist finally showed the fruits of labor. If one was to say he looked like a tough man before the cut, then he definitely looked more like a business mogul after the transformation. Sir, you'll need to wash your hair now. I'm going to style your hair later. Opening his eyes, Richard was a bit displeased with his current hairstyle. However, he did not say anything as he diligently went to the hair washing station. There, a woman was happily preparing to service him before he requested, I would like a male employee to do it. Sir, I'm very good at this. Don't you want to try? I don't. Please get me another employee, Richard insisted. As such, they could only get a man to take over. After that, Richard returned to the seat and the stylist dried his hair for him before splitting his hair at the sides. At that moment, the man looked like a dominating CEO. Sir, can we take a photo of you? The stylist asked. No, Richard stood up and rejected him coldly. In the waiting room, Angela looked up to see her man walking in. As expected, it was just like how she anticipated, handsome and perfect. Wow! I love it so much. She stood up and hugged him. Richard, who was satisfied to see her satisfied, said while hugging her, let's go shopping. Okay. She nodded happily. She knew that shopping with him would be a very enjoyable experience since he would be sure to turn heads. In the mall. Impatient, Angela dragged Richard to a clothing store. Today, she wanted her eyes to feast on the man. Growing tired of the man in casual clothing, she wanted to see him in a formal suit. After letting him try on 3 pieces of clothing, she sat and waited for him. Including her, even the clerk was full of anticipation as the customer today was just too handsome. With a model's body, looks and aura, which woman would not fall for him? Finally, Richard came out with the first set of clothing, which was a white shirt under a gray vest paired with a matching suit, perfectly accentuating his waistline and big back. Just like a model, he approached Angela for her to admire him. At that point, the clerk wanted to come over and help him tuck his shirt in better before Angela stopped her. I will do it. She smoothed out his shirt before praising, it looks very good on you. I like it. Smiling, Richard responded, as long as you're happy. You don't have to try the other 2. We'll go with this one since you can wear anything with your figure anyway. Angela was thinking about what a hassle it was for him to try everything. She wanted to keep what he was wearing, so he packed the jacket he came in, satisfying her with no strings attached and making her feel doted upon. Richard felt that he was willing to do anything for her just to see her gaze of admiration and love. While shopping, Angela got a call from the company, causing her expression to darken. What? He took our customers away? Yes. Mr. Graham. Oh, I meant Andy persuaded the client to invest in him. But, Miss Myers, we made an appointment with the customer at 3:00 p.m. The president wanted you to negotiate with the customer instead.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.